What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So, before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to Ticket TV. He did a live stream talking about this subject. So, if you're not subscribed to Ticket TV, please subscribe to Ticket TV. He also has another channel called Pro Basketball Updates. So, please subscribe to those channels. If you haven't subscribed to my other sports channel, Too Raw for Sports, please subscribe to it. I often put links to my latest uploaded videos, always do it actually, in my community section. But if you don't see those, I'm going to put a link to the channel in a pinned comment on this video. And I'm going to do that in every video after this one, every subsequent video. So please subscribe to that other channel because a lot of content is going on that channel as well. So this is the question. At this stage of his career, would you, if you were an owner of a franchise, would you give, or the general manager, would you give Kawhi Leonard a max contract at this stage of his career? And some of the pundits, I think Stephen A. Smith is one, Chris Broussard is another one, I think Ticket mentioned, maybe some others as well. They were saying that they would not give him a max contract and that is rather risky. Now, part of this analysis on their part is kind of questionable because a lot of these guys have agendas and all of that. So you never really know what some of these people, how they really feel in it, whether it's something they really feel or whether it's just something that goes along with an agenda they have. But it's a legitimate question. These are my thoughts about it. You can, because technically at his age, he's sort of he's pretty much at the peak of his career. But he's a risk. I mean, look, every contract is a risk in some form or fashion. Even the guy who appears to be the healthiest player. Sometimes things happen. Uh, you know, most people would have assumed, for instance, that Sean Kemp, after 1997, would have had many more years of high-level play. He was only 27, 28 in 1997. But ultimately, unbeknownst to all of us, he was near the end of his run as a top-tier player due to personal issues, weight gain and all that. Every contract is a risk. Who would have known that Grandmama Larry Johnson, after a couple of years of superstar play, would develop back issues which would ultimately cause him to retire by 2001 when he was only 33 years old at the time, going on 34. Or was he 32? 32 or 33. He was very young. So a lot of these things are risk. You just don't know. I commend Kawhi Leonard for doing everything, for trying every possible, using every tactic and planning every possible precaution necessary to try to extend his career. We have to remember that he has a degenerative knee condition. Okay? This degenerative knee condition has ended the careers in the past of many athletes, in particular, Mark McGwire, baseball player. Patella tendonitis. It's a degenerative problem. Now, that was 2001 when McGwire retired. This is 2021. So we've had a lot more years of advancements in the medical field to try to stave off and delay, um, the point where you can no longer perform as an athlete. But in my opinion, the fact remains that it's still a degenerative condition, meaning that it's still progressing, which means that there will be a day when Kawhi will no longer be able to play. Now the thing is, when will that be? Now Ticket made an excellent point about the fact that his game is not necessarily predicated on athleticism. Sean Kemp took a hell of a hit when, because of weight gain, uh, tremendous weight gain. He went from being 250 pounds, 255, to being 320, and he never was the same player again. But his game was a lot of it did ride on athleticism. There's some other guys whose games were predicated a lot on athleticism. Leonard is not really predicated on athleticism. Um, he has explosiveness, not the most explosive uh, first step or the most explosive player we've ever seen, but he has a very fundamentally sound game to the point where he will always be, as long as he can function on the basketball court, a very potent player. Um, whether he'll be a 30-point per game scorer or a 22 or 23-point per game scorer or 24-point per game scorer remains to be seen. But look, when you have the range and the shooting ability that he has, um, you could still be an effective player. Look, for instance, I'll just make a comparison to Bernard King. Now, Bernard King suffered a much more severe knee injury than Kawhi Leonard. Okay, and this was back in the prehistoric days, comparatively speaking, in the mid '80s, when those surgeries were much more invasive. Today, a lot of times they can just stick a hole. They can just stick a hole in your knee with some type of device, and use almost like a controller and shit, like a game controller, and do all these different things. Back then, they had to literally open up your entire knee to perform surgery to repair it. It was gruesome, and it took a long time for these athletes to come back from these types of surgeries. Bernard King was out of basketball for what, 2 years? I think he was gone for two, I think, entire calendar years before he came back. And he wasn't able to come back at the level that he desired for almost 5 years, the 1990-91 season. He was able to come back and play at an all-star level, averaging 28 points per game for the Washington Bullets, the then Washington Bullets. And he proved that he could still play at a high level. Unfortunately, he got injured again after that. He still had issues with the knee, and he was never again the same player. But he had to alter his game a bit. He kind of was known for his explosiveness when he was before the knee injury, but because he had a fundamentally sound game, he was still able to be an effective scorer. Yes, maybe Kawhi Leonard, uh, an older Kawhi, might have a slight dip in his shooting percentage overall, but he will still be a guy that could give you 24, 25 points a game, I think. The question with Kawhi Leonard will be more of this as he gets older. I think the question will be his health. Will it be worth it? We've already become accustomed to a guy who's missing 18, 20 games a year. Now, if that progresses up to 30 games, half the season, and now it's getting to the point where it's affecting chemistry, it's affecting your standings as far as your team, resentment from other players. Why is this guy getting special treatment over other guys, even though they know damn well he's injured? Um, then you have to wonder, is he worth a contract like that? So those are some things you have to worry about, man. It's no clear cut answer on this one, in my opinion. Um, this is why I've always struggled with ranking Kawhi too high on my all time list. I saw some people say Kawhi is a top 20 all time player, and I hesitate to do that because I I sometimes wonder if he's going to go down as a more successful version of a Bernard King as far as um, having Bernard from 1970, what was it, 6 or 7 through 85. You just saw a progression of a player who, once he got into the right system and right situation, he became a very dominant player. The 84 from Bernard King from 83 to 85 might have been the most dominant small forward in the NBA. Even though Larry Bird was winning MVPs, Bernard King might have been the most unstoppable force in the NBA those 2 years. But then the injury happened, and then he was never the same player. A lot of people have forgotten about him. But you know, I hate to see Kawhi get hurt, and then in a couple of years, let's say 8, 9 years from now, and you bring him up, people be like, younger people like, well, who is that? I hate to see him become one of those guys. I hate to see him become a Penny Hardaway. You know what I'm saying? Even though he's had a more successful overall career than Penny Hardaway. But the point is, I hate to see him just fall apart due to injuries. I hope and I pray that doesn't happen to Kawhi Leonard. I hope that what we're seeing now isn't the the beginning of something like that. I hope he's able to come back and be the same guy. I don't think it's going to be next year, maybe the year afterward. Um, but tell me what you guys think. Do you think that he's worth a max deal? Do you think that he's going to re-sign with the Clippers, or do you think that he's going elsewhere? One thing I read about Kawhi Leonard is that once he falls out of favor with you, that he's done with you. So we'll see. But tell me what you guys think.